The Galactic Republic was a coalition of the galaxy's worlds and systems and battled fiercely with the Separatist Alliance to keep their way of life intact. However, at the end of the war, Sidious turned the Republic into the Galactic Empire and quickly ruined the democracy that had stood for over a millennia. But what would have happened if the Republic wasn't disbanded following the end of the war? Now, we've done videos similar to this in the past discussing if Order 66 failed. However, for this theory, we're going to be saying that Order 66 was never put in place. We're going to be saying the Sith's plot to end the Republic just doesn't happen. Now, this is going to change the entire timeline. In reality, there probably wouldn't even be a war. However, for the fun of the theory, we're going to be saying that the war happens, as it does in our timeline. However, in some event, Sidious is killed, and therefore, the Sith's master plan is ruined. Now, the war would go on without the Sith's plot. The droid armies would not be shut down. However, without Dooku's leadership, the Separatists would still be on the back foot. Realistically, the war would probably go on for years longer than it did in our timeline, as the CIS Council and General Grievous, now leading the entirety of its military's forces, would fight to the bitter end. Eventually, however, the Council would be forced to surrender as their strongholds and safe houses are destroyed and raided by the Republic. Meanwhile, however unlikely this is, we're going to say that Grievous is arrested. So what's going to happen? Well, firstly, the Separatist Council will be put on trial, and would likely try to distance themselves from the war. The Separatists had committed numerous war crimes, for example the use of human shields on Ryloth, biological weapons on Naboo, and attempted destruction of Republic medical stations, not to mention many more. For this reason, they're going to stand trial and try to argue that they were just pawns. They didn't have any involvement on the numerous crimes that the Separatists had committed. Now, how this is actually going to play out is difficult to say. Remember, after Gunray's invasion of Naboo, he was allowed to go free. However, I feel as if the Republic would be forced to make an example of them. They'd likely all be imprisoned or possibly executed, and the companies that they represented would likely be seized by the Republic. Now, as for Grievous, I believe again he would be made an extreme example of. He would probably stand trial in front of both the Republic and the Jedi Order, because his crime stoked fear in majority of the Republic's citizens, so they'd want to see this monster being brought to justice. So, now that the Separatist leaders have been quashed beneath the Republic, what's going to happen? Well, unfortunately, since Sidious didn't take absolute control, the Republic is going to be in some serious debt. The banks, the Kaminoans, shipyards, and weaponsmiths, the Republic owes all of them. For this reason, they're going to be desperate for credit, and they're going to be charging Separatist worlds reparations for the war. This means the CIS planets basically have to pay their war debt off. But there's a problem with this. The Separatist Parliament was mostly made up of worlds that weren't particularly prosperous from the outer and mid-rim. That was one of the reasons they wanted to secede in the first place. Not only this, but most of the infrastructure, such as factories and natural resources, will have been destroyed in the war. Also, most of the business tycoons who made the CIS such a valuable organisation are imprisoned or dead, so the CIS is going to struggle to pay these reparations. Now, there's a very real-world example of what happened in this following situation. Following World War I, Germany was forced to pay ridiculously high reparations that they could never dream of being able to afford. This led to an economic crisis and forced them to default on their reparation payments. This, in turn, led to a French and Belgian coalition invading Germany's Ruhr district, and seizing their valuable resources such as coal and machinery, which in turn crippled Germany's economy more, making it even harder to pay back the reparations. Now, as I said, I think the Republic is going to respond brutally to the CIS to ward off anyone else from trying to secede from the Republic. So, realistically, any and all of the worlds who are affiliated with the Separatists would instantly be hit with an economic crisis, and it's likely Republic forces would be sent in to seize assets on these worlds that weren't able to pay. The Republic, after all, would likely be maintaining a portion of their clone soldiers to ensure peace in what was Separatist space. Now, needless to say, the harsh treatment of ex-Separatist worlds would be a terrible idea, as they're simply widening the gaps between the Republic worlds and ex-Separatist loyalists. With the downfall of CIS worlds and economic problems, there would be refugees flooding the Inner Rim trying to escape the economic hardships. Meanwhile, due to the anti-alien agenda which had taken the galaxy by storm during the Clone Wars, would only strengthen. And this again is going to create tension between the primarily Outer Rim world and the Republic. Extremist groups would emerge as they did in Germany following World War I. The ex-separatists would hate the Republic more than what they did in the first place. And it would likely lead to a second war made up of guerrilla movements, attacks on Republic troops and citizens, and of course, the Republic would retaliate. Essentially, I believe that by having harsh treatment of the CIS worlds following the end of the war, the galaxy would inevitably hit a boiling point and a second war would begin. This time, the Republic wouldn't be fighting droids, but people who had suffered underneath the Republic's cruel policies. And it wouldn't be a straight-up forward war, it would likely be a war of terror. But what do you think would happen? How would the Republic treat the ex-separatist worlds, and how would this affect the galaxy at large? Thanks for watching, please remember to like, share and sub, as it's really appreciated and it helps the channel grow. Also don't forget to follow me on Twitter at @TheLawGuy and tick the bell for regular updates. Thanks again for watching, I do hope that you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.